Hagie Manufacturing Company is one of the best-known self-propelled sprayer companies. It's hard to believe that the company was started by a farmer trying to raise seed corn. In the early 1930s, Ray Hagie had just graduated from college and was returning to the family farm to help raise cattle and grow crops. While at college, he had learned of a new method for growing seed corn called crossbreeding. He was so intrigued with the idea that he started to experiment with the process on his own. He first grew seed for himself, but his neighbors soon wanted to try his seed corn as well. By the mid-1930s, Hagie's Hybrids was born. It wasn't long before the demand for seed corn was so high that producing it became difficult. The biggest problem was getting enough bodies to detassel the seed corn in time. Ray began to work on a solution. Rather than having workers walk through the fields, why not carry them on a machine? They would move faster and not get tired as quickly. His timing couldn't have been better. Once the U.S. was involved in World War II, the regular workforce was off fighting in the war. Like other industries, the substitutes for these workers were women and children. Ray's invention was the perfect solution. The machine would carry the workers through the field and raise them up to the heights of the tassels. It wasn't long before other seed corn companies learned about the machine and wanted to purchase them. The Hagie High Tractor was born. In 1946, Hagie's began selling the Hagie All-Weather Detasseler 6-person personnel carrier. Ray saw potential in his machine design and looked for other uses for the personnel carrier. It was about that time that the Dow Chemical Company developed 2,4-Dow, also known as 2,4-D. The chemical could be used on corn to control broadleaf weeds. Spraying early in the season was easy, but some weeds would sprout and grow after the chemical could be applied. The result was the world's first self-propelled high-clearance sprayer, developed in 1947. It was the first of many innovative and revolutionary products or features Hagie has introduced to the sprayer industry. By 1948, the sprayer and personnel carrier business was so large that it was necessary to form Hagie Manufacturing Company. By the mid-1950s, Hagie was building 3 different sprayer models, the CA, the CB, and CBK, with capacities ranging from 100 to 185 gallons. In 1955, Hagie became international when they began selling sprayers and detasselers around the world. That year, they sold machines to Ontario, Canada, Managua, Nicaragua, and Amico, Peru. By the end of the 1950s, the 3-wheeled design was being reviewed. It was simple, but unstable. Development of a 4-wheeled sprayer was started, and an experimental unit began testing in 1959. In 1960, the Model 430 was released, with a 200-gallon solution tank and a 24-foot boom, with extensions to make it 30 feet. It was also the first sprayer to offer Hagie's now famous front-mounted boom. In the 1960s, Hagie Manufacturing Company continued to grow, and the advancements of their sprayers continued. By the end of the decade, Hagie Manufacturing Company was ready to make their next revolutionary introduction. In 1968, Hagie introduced the Model 440 High Tractor. The Model 440 tractor was the first hydrostatically driven sprayer, eliminating the mechanical drive systems which utilized chains and transmissions. The 440 was also equipped with a new Hydra-Hug suspension system. The front telescopic legs were connected by hydraulic lines, allowing one leg to rise while the other one lowered, keeping the machine level and maintaining boom height. It was also the first twin-tank sprayer and the first sprayer to be offered with a factory-installed cab. The 1970s started where the 1960s ended. Detasselers saw an increased resurgence in testing and prototyping. In the early 70s, 4 different detasselers were available. The 120 personnel carrier took technology introduced with the 440 sprayer into the detasseling industry, hydrostatic drive. The 3-wheeled detasseler was available in a 4, 6, or 8-row option. The 437 detasseler was available in 3 configurations: a 12-row personnel carrier, a spray roller used on Texas sterile seed corn, or a cutter driven electrically. The 640 sprayer, released in 1973, utilized a 50-foot boom, twin stainless steel tanks, and an optional belly tank, making the total capacity 860 gallons. It was the first high-capacity unit offered by Hagie's and the first to offer air conditioning. Also in 1973, the 437 HD detasseler was introduced. It was another first. The 437 HD used hydraulic motors to drive the 6 cutter heads to detassel. Hagie Manufacturing Company saw a new style in their sprayer designs during the 1980s. The 8400 sprayer was introduced in 1980, and 4 additional models were introduced during the next 5 years. Many of these models were developed to be affordable to combat the economic crisis affecting the agricultural industry. In the 1990s, Hagie Manufacturing continued to develop sprayers to meet the demand of their customers, both farmers and custom applicators. As the number of acres covered increased, Hagie's increased the capacity and horsepower of their machines. The Model 250 and 280 were the answers. With capacities of 500 and 800 gallons, both machines had selectable 2-wheel or 4-wheel drive. In 1994, the 284 continued the machine growth with a boom width up to 90 feet. In 1998, Hagie Manufacturing Company celebrated their 50th anniversary with the introduction of their latest machine, the 2100. With a new, larger cab, 1,000-gallon capacity, and independent air ride suspension, the 2100 was the new gem of the Hagie lineup. As the new millennium was ushered in, Hagie Manufacturing was celebrating the release of their new 1,200-gallon sprayer, the STS-12. The first single-tank sprayer built by Hagie's in nearly 20 years. Sporting a new patented steering and suspension system, and the industry's only boom capable of spraying at both 60, 80, and 90 feet without changing components. 5 years later, Hagie's put the sprayer industry on its ear when they released the STS-16, the world's largest row crop sprayer with a 1,600-gallon solution tank. 2007 saw the introduction of the STS-14. This machine filled the gap in the machine capacities between 1,200 and 1,600 gallons. The machine was targeted towards the owner-operator who needed more capacity but did not need the extra power or expense of the STS-16. It also maintained a narrow wheel package, allowing it to be used as a combo sprayer and detasseler without causing crop damage. Hagie Manufacturing Company will continue to be an industry innovator, just as it has for its first 65 years. The philosophies that are used to continue that tradition are in every Hagie employee. And passed down through each generation of the Hagie family.